Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of the God whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is forever. We will now continue with our discussion on the different possibilities of changes that get introduced when we deal with verbs. We've already done fail madi, past tense, and fail mudare, the present and the future tense. And we have also seen their passive verbs, how they are formed. Moreover, we've already done fail amr and have seen how this order, request, imperative is formed through fail muzare. But one of the things that we were not fully done with was fail nahi, which is the negative amr. On occasions, we ask people or request them to do certain things positively, and there are other occasions when we ask them to do certain things negatively, not to do certain things. This is what is called nahi in Arabic. So, fail nahi is the first thing that I would want to do in this session. Let's take an example. We already know that when it comes to the question of fail amr, of which the negative aspect is fail nahi, we are only interested in the second person, the 6 different possibilities. So let's have an example of a verb tusrifu, which is masculine second person verb and means you are exceeding limits. You are using it, consuming it more than what is desirable. When you say to two individuals masculine, you would say tusrifani. Again, it's the second person. And if you're saying it to many men, then you would say tusrifuna. If you will say it to a lady, one, it's going to be tusrifina. I hope this is what you are now doing by yourself, because the gardan, the metrics of fail mazi and muzare is what we've already done. Tusrifina, tusrifani, and tusrifuna. Sorry, tusrifna is what it is in the case of plural, feminine, second person noun, second person verb in muzare. This is the simple verb muzare. Now, had it been fail amr, you were directing, asking, requesting somebody to do something positively, we would have gotten rid of ta and would have put a jazm towards the end and would have made use of an alif and used either a pesh, a dhamma, or a zer, kasra. But that was fail amr. When it comes to fail nahi, what we do is that we just add a la, which we know it means don't. And we add la, and towards the end, we put a jazm if there is no noon. So it will be la tusrif. Tusrifu, you are exceeding limits. You will exceed limits. La tusrif, do not consume beyond limits. When it comes to musanna, tasniya, you would say la tusrifa. The noon is gone. When you say to many, you would say la tusrifu. Kulu washrabu wala tusrifu. It's there in the Quran. Eat and drink, but don't go beyond limits. By the way, when you say tusrifu, when you remove noon, you just put one silent alif towards the end. That's what you will find in the Quran as well. Kulu, eat, that's fi'l amr. Washrabu, drink, again fi'l amr. I hope you recognize it. Wala tusrifu, again fi'l amr, but the negative one, that is nahi. Tusrifina would become la tusrifi. La tusrifi. That's what is going to be the nahi. Again, the same la tusrifani, la tusrifa. Here is an exception. When we are talking about plural, and that is feminine, then you put a la, but you don't remove the noon. That's an exception. You will find that this exception is always going to be there. The noon of feminine plural, jama muannas, stays, it doesn't get removed. Probably the reason is that if it was to be removed, then it would really have been confused with la tusrif. So whatever be the reason, the fact of the matter is that when you are making fail nahi, like I'm sure that we talked about when we were talking about fail amr, we would not remove the noon of plural feminine, jama muannas. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do in this particular presentation, which is fail nahi, the verb which commands or requests somebody to do something, not to do something, or to do something negatively. The other things that we need to now understand are that there are a number of possibilities wherein in Arabic expressions, sentences, you begin with a word which is beginning the statement with a shart, with a condition. And when a statement begins with a condition, there has to be a response, a jawab-e-shart. That is, in English, if we would say, in case you see somebody in the room, do tell him or her to not make noise. So, when you say, in case you see somebody in the room, this is shart, this is condition. The second part has to be there in order for the statement to be completed. Ask him or her to not make noise. Likewise, in Arabic, we have a number of expressions which, when they are at the beginning of a sentence, they divide the sentence into two parts. Shart, one part which is conditional, and the other is the response to the condition, which is jawab-e-shart. For example, we have in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 280, the famous mention of the case when riba was talked about and the loans were required to be taken back from the borrowers. The Almighty talked about an exception. In kana zu usratin. Fanaziratun ila maisara. That's the second part. فنظرة إلى ميسرة. Kana is a fail naqis. Kana zu usratin, he was in straitened circumstances. Usra is difficulty. Zu is the one who is in difficulty. Kana zu usratin, he was in difficulty. He was in straitened circumstances. When you have in at the beginning of a sentence, then the sentence has divided into two parts, a shart, a condition, and jawab shart, the response to it. In would convert kana zu usratin into a statement which would mean in kana zu usratin, if he is in straitened circumstances. That is, without in, kana zu usratin would have meant he was in straitened, difficult, tight circumstances. But in comes in, and it does two things. It converts the past tense statement kana zu usratin into present or future, which is mudare. And the second thing is that it makes the statement conditional based on shart. So in kana zu usratin, if he is in difficulty, in straitened circumstances, he means the one who has taken loan, your borrower, who you are asking to return the loan to you. فَنَّظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ. Now this is what is called the jawab shart. It's the response. Then, then, naziratun, a waiting exercise period is to be maintained. Ila maisara, until the easing of circumstances. In other words, wait until the circumstances improve, ease out. So this is what we call the jawab response of shart. The first part is shart. It's a condition, and the second one is the response to it. So in kana zu usratin fanaziratun ila maisara. In other words, when you have a statement in Arabic and it begins with in, if the statement is in the past tense, it is going to be converted into mudare, present or future tense, and it's going to divide the subsequent sentence into two parts, shart and jawab shart. I give you another example, a shorter example from the Quran. In Surah Bani Israel, the Almighty is talking to the children of Israel and telling them that Udtum, actually in this statement, you can also read it as Uttum, and dal is going to be then silent. Udtum means you repeated. But if you say in Uttum, you have the same change occurring as a consequence of in, converting the past tense into the present tense or the future. It would be in Uttum. And if you're going to repeat, and this obviously is going to be the shart, the condition, the Quran says the jawab shart is udna. Udna ordinarily would mean we did it again, we repeated. But because of in, it too shall become mudare. And the meaning would be that we shall also repeat. In Uttum, if you are going to repeat, we shall repeat as well. This is Surah Bani Israel, verse 8. Now, it is not necessary that in would always appear before a past tense, a sentence which will have verbs in the past tense and would convert them into mudhari, present or future tense. On many other occasions, you would find that the same in is appearing in the beginning of a statement which has fail mudhari. And there again, it will do the same job, convert the statement into two parts. I'll give you an example again from the Quran. Of course, the purpose is to understand the Quran. And therefore, in Surah Muhammad, the 47th Surah, verse 7, the Almighty is saying, In tansurullaha, in tansurullaha. Now, tansuru is actually fail muzari, jama, plural, masculine, second person. Tansuruna, you are going to help. However, because of in coming before tansuruna, the change that in would incorporate is that it would remove the noon of tansuruna and it would become in tansurullaha. Allah has a nasab because it is maf'ul bihi. So in tansurullah, if you are going to help Allah, this is the first part, which is the shart. The jawab shart is yansurkum. He is going to help you in turn. Now, jawab shart we see, if it is muzare, again will incorporate the same change. Here, tansuruna was deprived of noon; it was dropped. In the case of singular verb, that is used for God, third person singular masculine, which was yansuru, you would say yansur. Like we saw earlier in the case of nahi, when we said tusrifu, it is preceded by la, it would become la tusrif. But if it is tusrifani or tusrifuna, it would become la tusrifa, la tusrifu. Likewise here, in coming before tansuruna removes the noon of tansuru and it becomes in tansurullaha. If you are going to help Allah, the jawab of it, the response of the condition is that yansurkum, He is going to help you. Now, yansuru ordinarily has now gotten converted into yansur with a jazm, and kum obviously is a pronoun for second person, plural, masculine. So these are the three examples which show us some of the things that happen in a sentence of Arabic where we have the role of in, which is an innovation. Now, let us move on to another somewhat similar case like that of in, wherein you find that a statement of Arabic in the form of verb gets changed. And in this case, instead of in, we have another example, and that is the example of iza. Iza also talks about almost the same thing, when. The only thing that is mentioned is that while in, when it talks about an exception, it talks about an exception which is rare. And we're talking about iza, it again is talking about a possibility, but that possibility is very likely. It's predominantly going to happen. It's very, very likely. For example, uh, we have this famous surah towards the very end of the Quran, Surah Al-Fath, that's 110 surah, which says, Iza ja'a Nasrullahi wal fath. Now, when we're doing these Quranic verses, we're actually practicing what we've already done. And I hope that what we have done is already what you have understood and internalized. Ja'a is a fail mazi. It's a past verb in the past tense, which really means he came. Ja'a Zaidun, Zaid came. However, when it's going to be preceded by Iza, it would mean when Zaid will come. Iza Ja'a Zaidun. Here, Iza Ja'a Nasrullah. When God's help will come. The past tense gets converted into the future tense, and Iza is putting a condition or is breaking the subsequent sentence into two parts, shart condition and its response, the response to the condition. Nasrullah is having a rafa. I'm sure you know that it's a file of Ja'a. Allah has a jar because it's muzaf ilayh, and I don't have to tell you why. There's only one pesh dhamma on Nasr. It's muzaf. And what is the i'rab on al-fath? Quite understandably, predictably, it's again rafa. Why one? Because there is an alif lam. Iza jaa nasrullahi wal fath waraita. Varaita. Now, raita, we know is ra, it's a past tense, he saw. Raita, you saw. But if it is a continuation of a sentence which has begun with iza, then it is again going to be converted into muzare, fail muzare. And you see, if God's help and victory comes, and you see, whom do you see? An-nas. You see people. So An-nas has a nasab because it is maf'ul bihi. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ. And you see people يَدْخُلُونَ. يَدْخُلُونَ is fail muzari, and it means they are entering or they shall enter. However, we've already seen, I hope you remember, that at times fail muzari is actually appearing in a statement to give the sense or meaning of halat. Varaita nasa, and you see people yadkhuluna, entering. Now, because it's halat, it's actually, its meanings are entering. When you see them entering, their condition is that they're entering. Varaita nasa yadkhuluna fi dinillahi. Where? Entering in God's religion. Fi dinillahi. Obviously, deen has been given jar by fi, and Allah has been given jar because it's muzaf ilayh, and deen has one jar, one kasra because it's muzaf. Afwaja. Afwaja is hal. You see people entering the religion of God, afwaja, in large number, in groups after groups. That again is a condition. That again is a halat. That is, you see them, that they're entering, and their state is that they are in flocks, in large numbers. Fasabbih. Fasabbih. Then you do tasbih. Now this is sabbaha yusabbihu. The verbs yusabbihu has actually been shortened to become sabbih with a jazm towards the end because of iza, like it was in the case of in tansurullaha yansurkum. Likewise, it's waraita iza jaa nasrullahi wal fath waraita an-nasa yadkhuluna fi dinillahi afwaja. Here begins the other part of the statement, which is jawab shart, And when it comes, it will convert Fe'l Muzari in its form. If it's singular, then it will have a jazm. If it's plural, then noon is going to be removed, except in the case of plural feminine. فَسَبِّحْ, then you do tasbih. بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ, with the praise of your Lord. Glorify with the praise of your Lord. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ, and seek His forgiveness. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ, وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ, and seek His forgiveness. إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا, indeed He is the one who is very generous in accepting repentance. He is oft accepting repentance. He is very regular in inclining with mercy. Kana has made Tawwaba nasab because you know that the khabar of Kana has nasab. Kana Allahu Ghafura. Here again, Kana is Kana Allahu Tawwaba. Allah is here in the pronoun of Kana. He is Tawwaba. So what I was saying was that Iza, like in, when it comes before a statement, it converts the statement into shart and jawab-e-shart, and there are certain other changes that take place in the way the verb muzari appears. May the Almighty enable us to understand the Arabic of the Quran properly, so that we are able to understand the Book of God as best as we can.